Hey guys, today I thought I would describe another aspect of my new life as a free person, and that is the ability to have mobility in my employment. Now, back in the days of my addiction, all of my cash flow would go outwards towards drugs and unnecessary luxury items all the time, so I never had any real surplus of money that I could fall back on if I really needed to leave a job or something. And so I put up with terrible work conditions and really shitty managers. However, that is no longer the case. And recently, I had to walk out of a job at a coffee cafe on Lake Austin where my job was essentially to work in their seasonal barbecue tent that was right outside in the parking lot. And I was able to walk away from this job because of many red flags and it not being ideal, and then quickly find another job, just having this abundance mentality of I can always do better for myself. So here are some red flags that I noticed as I was working this. Firstly, about 2 weeks before I even applied to the place, I went there with my father to get some barbecue. And we got the barbecue. The food was great, but it wasn't really clear where their bathrooms were. And I went inside the restaurant and asked the manager where their bathrooms were located. And he was this older, probably on the very younger end of the baby boomer spectrum. And he pointed me, he was like, "Oh, they're out here." But he said it in a really passive aggressive way. And usually I'm not quick to ascribe people passive aggressive motives. There's a lot of people that are passive aggressive, but I usually am able to positively get through this. But this guy just left a really bad taste in my mouth. He had a bad aura to him. And so that should have been an immediate red flag. However, when I went to go interview for the job 2 weeks later, this dude wasn't doing the interview. And in fact, I didn't see him at all. I thought he was just working in the restaurant section that I wouldn't even be in, wouldn't see him, wouldn't have to deal with him every day. So I thought I was good on that. Now, the person who conducted my interview ended up being my manager for my first day working there, and he was pretty good. This was a solid guy. He was calm. He was very instructive. He was telling me what needed to get done, what my responsibilities were, and everyone working there seemed pretty happy and cool, minus the fact that about half of them were going to be leaving the job soon, which should have been another red flag to me. But I didn't really pick up on that one until I actually left the job, that I could have seen the reasons why. So my shifts were 6 hours. I signed up for a 30-hour work week, and I didn't expect anything crazy because of the coronavirus, but this thing was dead. There was maybe one customer every 30 minutes coming up to the barbecue stand, and we'd serve them and it'd be good and everything, but other than that, there was nothing to do. And this makes me, I'm a very active person when I'm working, and just sitting around reading on my phone or something isn't, I get bored and I lose my energy, especially when you've done everything. You've wiped down the tables, you've swept the stand and everything. It becomes a drain on me. So that was a red flag that I picked up on, was, hey, this is a slow job. In fact, I don't even know if they're going to need so many employees around. So I began to take that initiative of, when there was a dead period for like 45 minutes, even 3 hours before my shift ended, I worked there for 3 hours, I would work there for 6 hours, and 3 hours before it ended, I would go up to the manager and say, "Hey, can I clock out?" And usually they were cool with it, except for one day, none of the official managers were there in the barbecue stand, so I had to go inside to ask that rude manager to clock out. And he gave me a hard time, of course. He assumed that I was trying to undercut the guy at the stand, like I was trying to leave without telling him or anything. In reality, I had asked him to leave. It was ridiculous. He's just this. He didn't like me from the get-go. He'd always ascribe negative motivations to me for no reason, in ambiguous situations. And so that was getting under my skin. I could see this guy becoming a problem later on, but I continued to stick it out for another day. And on this day, this is when it all collapsed. I realized that they were not paying the employees what they said they would pay them. And it didn't seem like a big deal. It didn't really hit me as viscerally, but it was definitely sketchy. For instance, they were telling people they were going to pay them $10 an hour, and they in reality got $9 an hour. I haven't even got my first paycheck from this place yet, so I don't know if they are going to fulfill their end to me, which they said they would pay me $9 an hour, so we'll have to see about that. And on the same day, a dude walked in, and this guy was tweaking. It was this total meth head working there. He had giant scars on his neck from where he stabbed himself and all that. And okay, fine. Obviously, they're not very good at vetting their employees. But this guy was something else, and he had weed with him, which was danger for me because I'm an addict as well, and I'm sober now, so I didn't really want to relapse. So I had to be wary of that. And then came the last straw. So a younger guy working with me, who was the most experienced there of all of us, said, okay, let's move these stale pretzels that have been in this case for a long time. Let's get some fresh pretzels in. You can have one of those pretzels if you want to. And I said, okay. So we threw away out the old pretzels. I took one and started eating it. I'm waiting for him to bring back the new fresh pretzels when that asshole manager walks out and basically throws a tantrum, throws an absolute emotional knee-jerk reaction to the fact that I'm eating a stale pretzel with no one in the vicinity of this stand. So he calls me inside. He says, I need to talk to you. And he doesn't just pull me off to the side behind the stand, or doesn't pull me further into the parking lot where no one is. He pulls me into the cafe where more people are and asks me, what the fuck are you doing? Do you even want to work here? Do you still want this job? And I said, honestly, no, it's a boring and slow job. I can do better for myself. So he said, all right, that's it. Go clock the fuck out. This was your last shift. So I said, okay. Clocked out. And I knew this motherfucker was shady because he wasn't paying those people what he said he was going to. So this was one of those fuck you pay me moments where I knew I was going to have to get my money before he had the opportunity to not give me my money, basically. So I had tips waiting for me, actually quite a good amount of them, about $80. So I tracked him down, and he was with the cooler manager, and luckily the cooler manager was the one who had the tip, so I got him from him. And I was walking down back to the barbecue stand to sign out and leave, and he says, the asshole manager, he says, you don't have to be so confrontational. And I said, well, you're the one who pulled me in front of everybody to fire me. And he just stuttered, and it was left at that. And this was on Tuesday of this week, and it's now Thursday, and I already have another job lined up, half the commute time, and an actual $10 an hour job. So this has just been a video basically telling you that if you're in a shitty situation and you can see the writing on the wall and your work isn't a ethical place, or it's not up to your standards of being actually respected, and this isn't to say that you're a lazy fuck who needs to be told to get your ass moving. This is if you're actually a hard worker and they're still treating you like shit. always know, just have that freedom in the back of your mind that you can always walk away and do better for yourself. Thank you.